Now, great pleasure. Joining us is Kellyanne Conway, former counselor to President Trump, Fox News contributor, all around, very smart person. So I know, here's my dilemma. I could have gone on the rip, but the dilemma is Americans are going to reject communism and socialism. I believe that. And the president will see to it. But is that enough to win the midterms? Because it's not specific. It doesn't put more money in their pockets. You know, we've been citing this poll that was taken. People are paying more in taxes than food, clothing, and shelter. You know, a factual analysis. So that's the part that worries me. And the GOP, so far, hasn't gotten it done. I mean, maybe you disagree with me, but I'm not seeing the product to sell in the midterms.
Allow me to be your deputy riffer today. I agree completely, Larry, and I'll remind you what I said at this table and elsewhere in 2022. We didn't say red wave because we didn't see it, and part of it was nobody was finishing their sentences. They would say Biden, Afghanistan, inflation, Kamala, COVID. The same thing's happening now. If you just scream socialism and communism, it's not enough. I know the president understands that, which is why he's trying to define it and denigrate it all the while, and actually challenge it as an affront to our patriotism and our optimism and our capitalism as this great country. The great news, Larry, is that in polls, and there's one that came out from Gallup yesterday, well done, they basically said 30% of Americans said they don't know anything that's good about socialism. Another 15% said, wait, I can name one, and then couldn't name one. So you're up to 45%. It was much lower when it came to capitalism and separately free enterprise. We've lived with that for a while longer. Here's the bad news. These folks are winning. They're winning the races. This is a challenge from inside the Democratic Party to change the party, and they are succeeding that way. To me, this isn't even AOC or Tlaib or Ellison. They're all in safe seats. This is really completing the revolution Bernie Sanders started in 2016, 10 years ago. He beat Hillary Clinton in 23 primaries and caucuses. He racked up 13 million votes, and they denied him the nomination. Then they denied him again in 2020 against President Trump. They pulled Biden out of formaldehyde. But this is the way to beat socialism in the midterms. Explain how bad things were under Biden. We're just crawling out of the Biden-Harris hole that they stuck us in terms of inflation, in terms of interest rates, in terms of cost of goods, in terms of foreign policy, the border, all of it. And then explain how much better it is now. That's not causation. That's causation, not coincidence, because of President Trump's policies. And yes, once in a while, what the Republicans on the Hill are doing with him. And then bring people to the dark place that there will be if you allow these people to be in charge. I think too many of them say, well, you impeach Trump. Forget that. He's not going anywhere. Talk about what they're going to talk about. The RPI. Our folks are talking about CPI. That's core price index. RPI is real people impact. How have these policies made your life better? People are talking about cost of living. People in Washington talk about cost of living. People across America talk about quality of life. That's crime. That's also affordability. But we just can't stand there and scream socialism bad.
Yeah, but it's just...
We're having the wrong conversation.
No, you know, that's my instinct, okay? I'm glad to hear you say this. Because, look, last night we were talking about this. The Biden socialists had a chance, okay? They had big government, they had these crazy inflation programs, Green New Deal. And what did they deliver? Talk about affordability. 21% increase in the consumer price index, which dwarfed wages, so people were underwater and they couldn't afford ordinary life. So that's an example. That's a real-world example. I think Republicans should pull that out. But right now, it's a close call, okay? In all honesty, the inflation rate is, look, it's 3.5% under Trump. It's not 21%, but it's there. And we have to deal with the fact that there's an affordability issue. So the GOP should do something about it. The one big beautiful bill was good, had a lot of positives in it. The economy is responding. But we can do more and we can do better. That's why I've been critical, particularly of the GOP Senate, which has not delivered a budget. It has not delivered a reconciliation bill. It has not delivered any additional tax cuts. There's no fiscal stimulus that would help folks out. And oh, by the way, I know we're supposed to want to drain the swamp, which was popular, Mr. Trump. We know about the waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption, but we're not doing anything about it legislatively. Do you follow? So I want to see spending cuts and tax cuts and put more money in people's pockets to, you know, clinch this election. Isms alone, I fear, won't do the job.
It's not enough because, look, the socialist candidates are leaning into what I call feel-good phraseology and not really the underlying ideology, as are some of their adherents in these Democratic primaries. But it's never going to be enough because when you're just attacking the other person, ridiculing them, running negative ads about them, you're not saying who you are and what you're going to do. And if you're already part of the system, you're seen as part of the problem right now. Something about President Trump, though. I think that his ideas are brilliant. I think the fact that he won the presidency and it came out of nowhere like these other people are, but did it as a builder, not someone who wants to burn everything to the ground, did it as an experienced man outside of politics. The thing is, he's always going to run into resistance from the other two branches of government. He could just be going on 8 cylinders at all times, which is why he does things like today, goes over to the State Department, talks about mining critical minerals. Manufacturing is booming. Folks, explain though why that matters.
I'm going to put some more numbers into that, Rick.
It's booming. It's over 4%. Yes. The inputs are up. Manufacturing is up. Hours spent, hours worked is up. Hourly wages were up last time. So things are improving, but people need to say that. And as for the legislature and the midterms, I will say this. I think the challenge is to ask the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment, where they stand on all these people. How disappointing to have Haley Stevens almost knock out El Sayed in Michigan, warn everybody in Michigan he's a communist, and then turn around today and say, I'll do whatever he wants me to do. I'll be whatever he wants me to be. So that's really the problem.
And they don't want to really tell you. I mean, when they talk about affordability, it's another point. It's a ruse. They're trying to hide their whole agenda, including the open borders and the anti-cops and the anti-ICE and ending the Senate and all these crazy things. No law and order. I mean, it's a ruse.
They made things unaffordable, Larry. They're against tax cuts.
That's right.
They're for regulations.
That's right.
It's Donald Trump who made us energy independent.
It has to be said.
We are net exporters of oil and gas again. His first term, his second term, because of him. He's improved those relationships with the Gulf state countries.
They will regulate the economy into dust.
I want to say one thing about affordability. The 2 women who won the governorships in New Jersey and Virginia last year, they called themselves moderate congresswomen. They weren't. They were radicals. They both ran on affordability, but they ran on affordability about data centers. And I'm so glad President Trump is standing up for data centers, even challenging Texas Governor Greg Abbott today, who said no.
He's wrong.
Ron DeSantis has said no AI data centers. What are we doing? You sound like Bernie Sanders when you say no AI data centers. Maybe don't have them in Miami or Dallas, but what do you mean none in the state? This is important because we have more data centers per capita in the Commonwealth of Virginia than almost anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
And yet now the governor is coming back on that. But here's the thing about affordability that's hard to solve. Yes, people on the bottom, lower income are always struggling with cost of living, inflation, affordability. That's not new for them. The 20% are spending like crazy. The middle 40 are too, and they'd like to spend more. People will spend $50 to have a DoorDash meal delivered. They'll spend $80 on an Uber ride to the airport. That's your business until then you yell everything's unaffordable and it's President Trump and the Republicans' fault. Define unaffordability, that you bought a house when you were 25 and you want the granite countertops now and you have to have the Porsche in the driveway. So life is unaffordable for lots of Americans, but the ones, if you look at the crosstabs who are complaining about it, are spending a lot of money on a lot of stuff.
Well, Chris, a lot of those people, to use Newt Gingrich's phrase, are downwardly mobile. But we'll leave that there. The great Kellyanne. See, I feel better that my analysis is correct now that you approve of it right here. It's very important to me. All right.